You can explain it on the highways and byways. And then there's some particular things in that you can pull out the scriptures that can kind of highlight and give clues into, what Yahweh Shem Yahushua gave our forefathers towards the age of the earth. Now, when we talk about the age of the earth, it can break down into several different lessons. You can go into modern day dating of things, which has been completely thrown off. That's why I pulled Daniel 2 and 21, if you don't mind reading that.
I got it. This is Daniel chapter 2, verse 21. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding.
Now go and get that in Wisdom of Solomon 7 and read Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 13.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 13. It says, I learn diligently and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches.
Come on, wisdom. Go ahead.
For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth. Which they that use become the friends of the Most High, being commended for the gifts that come from learning.
The gifts that come from learning, right? Most of the things that we understand are from observation or learning, things that were given to us, not things that we just magically come up off the top of our heads. Esau wants to try to call that science. That he wants to use his own imagination as science. Go ahead.
Verse 15. The Most High hath granted me to speak as I would, and to conceive as I meet for the things that are given me. Because it is he that leadeth unto wisdom and directeth the wise.
The Most High is the one that gives inspiration, not our self-willed imagination. We understand the times and the seasons and things from the inspiration of the Heavenly Father. That's why he had these things written down. Okay? Go ahead up.
Verse 16. For in his hand are both we and our words. It says, all wisdom also and knowledge of workmanship. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how old the world was made. Namely to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, the beginning, ending, and midst of the times.
And that's only given to the chosen. That's only that knowledge and understanding is given through the Spirit. It's an inspired knowledge and understanding. Okay, to get the full scope of these things. Okay, go ahead, and we'll read about that in 2 Ezra 14 later. Go ahead.
Verse 18, the beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons, the circuits of years, and the position of stars, the natures of living creatures, and the theories of wild beasts.
Right, and so this was given unto Adam whenever he was first formed, and that breath of life was breathed in him. Okay, so basically, whenever we're looking into the age of the earth, we have to get the full scope from the scriptures on how the Most High did things, okay? If you go to GMS Dallas in class and type in carbon dating exposed, videos that we did on that will pull up that we did about 5 years ago. And in that lesson, I think it was me and Elder Yashawamba, we went through the evolution handbook. We talked about some misconceptions that people had towards evolution and how Esau has used carbon dating methods to justify his theories on how old things are. And we went into how fallible the carbon dating system is, how you can't really predict anything on that. There's also an article that's called The Age of the Earth on creation.com. And you recording this, right? So
I am.
On creation.com, there's an article called 101 Evidences for a Young Age of the Earth and the Universe. And so if you want to get really particular into different pieces of evidence of how we know the Earth is younger, you can go to that article. Okay, it's on creation.com called Age of the Earth. What we're going to do today is to just touch on some scriptural things, okay? Did you have a precept or anything? Was there more on that?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, okay, so, that's all. All right, and so whenever you look at a general timeline, whenever you go to a timeline, most people say that Adam was formed around 4000 BC. Right? 4000 BC. So you go from 4000 BC, and then it goes to 3000 BC, then it goes to 2000 BC, 1000 BC, 0. Then it goes into 1000 AD, and then it goes until 2000 AD. So you got a span of about 5 to 6,000 years that mankind has recorded history on the planet Earth. Okay? And, when you go, there's a video that the apostles did a while back on the age of the earth. The series is called What the World Says versus What the Lord Says. And it's 4 parts. In a part of that video series, Apostle Ramlab talks about Eustace Mullins and how he gets information. Right. And a quote that Eustace Mullins says is, I'm going to pull it because it was interesting what he said. Check this out.
JP Morgan, a true loan company, which for their secret.
Hold on, some of this is playing.
It'll be fascinating to see in the coming.
These two Rothschild firms, JP Morgan and True Loan, own 96% of all the railroad mileage in the United States. Wow, talk about a monopoly there. And that's in congressional reports. I got that right out of, most of my work, by the way, comes from congressional reports. So you do researching at congressional reports, and how far do you back to this research information go, Eustace? About 5,000 years. 5,000 years. We're talking to Eustace Mullins.
So let you know, man, like ancient documents, information that he goes into research, when he goes and gets these congressional reports that reported maybe on this piece of information, on this piece of science, or that, the information will go back about 5,000-6,000 years. That's the time.
Coincides with the creation
which
story.
coincides with the creation story.
Yep.
To a T.
Because man was made on what, the fifth day?
Yeah, and so when you go, but they don't account for the chronology of the creation of the planet Earth and the creation of the universe in general. And that's what I want to talk about. So you got that 4,000 BCE all the way up until today is about a 6,000 year time span. Okay? So now let's go to Genesis 1 and 1.
Always quick precept though. Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
And you see how Esau has manipulated time. We'll do it all the different types of calendars, and really all the heathen nations too. The ancient Egyptian calendar was a 10-day calendar. The Roman calendar was a 10-day calendar. You know what I'm saying? They don't really
10-day weeks.
10-day week. For 10 days in a week. Yeah. And so how they was calculating time wasn't based off the observation that was given of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Right. It was a generalities. That was a lot of generalities was given. A lot of just theories was put in there. And so, hey, there's only an approximation of where we are today.
Right.
All that's yet to be seen and known.
Right.
We know in part of prophesy. Things have been mismanaged.
Right.
We understand from the scriptures and the inspiration of Yahweh Shem Yahushua about where we are in time.
Right.
I have a Roman calendar.
Go ahead.
Roman calendar, early Roman calendar. The calendar consisted of 10 months in a year of 304 days. The Romans seem to have ignored the remaining 61 days, which fell in the middle of the winter. The 10 months were named Martius, Aprilius, Mattius, Junus, Quintilis, Sextilis, September, October, November, and December. This made the year 355 days long.
Yeah.
So that's like what was that on? I think it was on Game of Thrones. They was counting winters.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? But the winters, they were saying the winters was lasting for years. You know what I'm saying? So that's an example of time being, you know what I'm saying, all out of order. You know what I'm saying? A winter lasting for years. You know what I'm saying? A winter's supposed to last for some months.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just going to show you how much time has been jacked with. You know?
Man. Yeah, when you look at the year 2019, when you go according to that, we so much far beyond that. Like, this ain't no 2019 we living in right now, man.
Right.
You know?
We use the refined version of the Roman calendar, which is the Gregorian calendar.
Yep, because it started out as the Julian calendar, and then then you had all these different popes, and they would announce changes that they wanted to make according to how they felt. And the Gregorian calendar had a few alterations placed within it. Okay, so let's start with Genesis 1:1.
This is Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, the Elohim created heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
So basically, you just had the formation of space, kind of. Go ahead. Nothing was formed yet. Go ahead.
And the spirit of the Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And the Elohim said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
So it made charged particles, so to speak, energy. Like now these elements begin to have light or energy. Okay, go ahead.
And the Elohim saw the light, and it was good. And the Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And the Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night.
Go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So over the course of the evening and the morning, you had this first day where you had a complete void, and where the Elohim began to basically create these charged elements within the universe. Okay, now we talk about a day. We know there's a couple of scriptures that talk about the time of the day in the spiritual realm versus how we perceive that time. Second Peter 3:8. Just so we can have it on record. Psalm 90:4.
You get 2 Peter.
I'll say, just as a side note, you notice how it says, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Meaning the evening is starting the day. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of brothers get caught up when the Shabbat come in and all those type of things because they don't have that thorough understanding of how a day actually is according to the scriptures.
And the thing is, sometimes the new moon will come while it's still daytime.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
So some people are tit for tat to argue with that, but the sundown is the beginning of a day.
Right.
Just, you know.
Right. I think talking about it. This Psalms 90:4 says, "For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night."
Yeah, 1,000 years for the Heavenly Father. It's just a day. For the Heavenly Father, man. All right, you got that 2 Peter 3:8.
Come. This 2 Peter 3:8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day.
Right, so that inspiration of understanding was given to Peter for our learning. Now, those who have ears to hear are going to receive it. So within that first day, when you go back to Genesis 1:1, 1 and 2, we're talking about 1,000-year period, and then the firmaments finally got put together. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go back to Genesis. Does that make sense?
Was that a precept in Psalms? Was that David?
Oh,
They
actually,
wrote that song?
A prayer of Moses, the man of the Most High.
It was David.
So it kind of,
And it was and then Peter.
Yep. Man, hey man,
Stand in your
He been
life.
having that understanding.
That's
for the
right.
longest.
Yeah.
That has ears to hear. Straight up. Damn, son. All right.
So this is Genesis chapter 1, going to verse 6 now. And the Elohim said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And the Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament.
Now the heavens are being created. The realm, the atmosphere that we can exist is being formed. That's why man ain't on the planet yet.
Right.
We dead, All right, so in this day, in that second day, the firmament and the heavens are being formed. Our world. Go ahead.
Come. It says,
verse 7 again. And the Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters that were under the firmament from the waters which are above the firmament, and it was so. And the Elohim called the firmament heaven. In the evening, in the morning.
So we just now have the heavens being formed. Right? Go ahead.
In the evening and the morning were the second day. And the Elohim said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place.
So that's the second 1,000 years. So 2,000 years have passed, right? Go ahead.
Gone. And let the dry land appear, and it was so. And the Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And the Elohim saw it was good. And the Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so.
Go ahead.
And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
All right, so after 3,000 years, you had earth itself be created. So the heavens is older than the earth. You see that? All right, and when we get into those 12 parts, that'll explain how you got the heavens and the firmament be about 12,000 years old. The earth itself, you take away those 3,000 years of time, about 10,000 years old. The universe itself is about 13,000 years old. Once you go through these 7 days, 7 days being said about 7,000 years, and then how long we say since the time of Adam's been on the planet? Roughly 5,000 to 6,000 years, right? So in total time, you're looking at 12 to 13,000 years of a full creation. But within that creation, the earth wasn't made until the third day.
Right.
So 13 minus 3, around 10,000, 11,000 years old. And these are all approximation. You don't take this to bat, man. It's not like it's exactly, If someone wants to get into that argument with you, don't even feed into it.
Yeah, I was like,
because they don't know.
It's closer. It's closer to thousands of years than billions. I tell you.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, just to prove that point, get Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 13.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9 verse 13. For what man is he that can know the counsel of the Most High, or who can think what the will of the Lord is?
So when we talk about this creation, man, we know what's given for us to know. Go ahead.
For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain.
So your ways of measuring time, measuring his ways of creation and his mindset behind it, bro, you ain't in your glory yet. You got something real quick? Go ahead.
Ecclesiastes 11:5. As thou knowest not what is the way of the spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the works of the Most High who maketh all.
Man. Continuing on verse 15. For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things.
That's gracious.
And heartily do we guess aright at things that are upon earth, and with labor do we find the things that are before us.
With labor, with like tremendous amounts of people spend their whole career studying dirt and trying to find out small things about dirt. Got it all, looking at it and like, wow, You can spend your whole life studying 2 types of birds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the Most High is vast, and trying to get into the smallest of things can take your whole career, your whole life.
So as scriptures talk about in Ecclesiastes, how it talks about the study of many books, pretty much weigh it down in your spirit, weigh down the spirit.
Imagine if if we knew who we were in another life. We would spend this whole life looking back at that other life.
Bugged out.
That's why we blocked it.
That's a good point.
Be bugged out.
That's a great point.
Man.
You have
that's like that movie. That show Westworld. You know what I'm saying? They got these robots that when they put them back into the game, they retaining their old memories. and they are bugging the hell out, bro.
Yeah.
And these robots wilding out, killing everybody is because they keep on. Because what it is, the game is set up to where you have these robots at your disposal. So whatever fantasy, whatever you got going, the robots are subject to it. You can kill them, you can do whatever you want, but they can't kill you. But then when they put them back in the game, they retain these memories, and it's going down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just like how. That's why our memories is blocked. They put you in that mind frame. Okay, so that's why the Lord don't want us to see all these different things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it could be detrimental.
Yeah, you know, when you focus on a finite thing, focusing on infinite things, it could throw it out of order, right?
Right.
Was it?
It's
Is that
a
in
little
that?
more. It says, and heartily, verse 16, Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 16. And heartily do we guess aright at things that are upon earth, and with labor do we find the things that are before us. But the things that are in heaven, who has searched out? In thy counsel, who hath known, except thou get wisdom?
Except thou get wisdom.
Man.
The only thing you'll know is what the Most High will give. You know? Go ahead.
It says, in thy counsel, who hath known, except thou get wisdom, and send thy Holy Spirit from above?
Boom. Right? And so now we have our forefather Moses, forefather Peter, giving us links and clues into creation and the understanding of it. Okay? Let's go back to Genesis.
This is Genesis chapter 1, going back to verse 14.
Go ahead, champ.
And Elohim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens of heaven, to give light upon the earth." And it was so.
Go ahead. Now, this is where he gave order and arrangement to the celestial bodies. So, okay, we're gonna move. Okay, we got the earth now. We're gonna have this moving in the. We're gonna have these move in this type of way, so there can be an observational understanding of how I'm gonna work with time. Okay, go ahead. He made a clock.
Right. Pretty much.
Go ahead.
Verse 16.
It is, you know, it was these bodies was out there. He gave it order. He gave a use for it. You understand? These elements all came out of the Shemayim, and it was already there. The use case for it was announced in this day. Go ahead.
Verse 16, and Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And the Elohim saw it was good. In the evening and the morning of the fourth day.
4,000 years. Go ahead.
And Elohim said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life."
Now the moving creature is being made, right? Go ahead.
And fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And the Elohim created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind.
So what does creature entail?
Everything. Every creature, even including us.
There you go.
Even us.
There it
I
goes.
want to say you move, don't you?
Right.
Yep.
You the top creature,
Right.
top beast.
So doesn't that sound like evolution? Yeah, they make the same argument that basically life came out of the waters and began to walk and things of that nature.
I see what you're saying.
Same concept.
Right.
But they take it and just use it for.
Yeah, I would say, but it was people coming out of the water, not fish that came onto the water and turned it to it. You know what I'm saying? They just twisted up.
Well, the waters is talking about the Shemayim,
Shemayim, because
which
all
is
of the
mean.
elements.
All that means is the elements.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're all formed from these elements. Well, like, and they've done cases where they looked at what the main elements that are in the heavens is the same ones that's on the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying?
Coming out of the water.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When it talks about the waters
The waters are the creation.
the waters is talking about the heavens.
Because when you look at the human body, it's like 72 minerals, I believe, that are in the earth. But you made up of what's in the earth.
Well, those four main elements in the universe is
Right.
nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, and
Hydrogen.
and hydrogen,
That's water.
and that's what we're made of. And so we came from the waters of the Shemayim, those charged particles, those elements. Okay.
Can I get a real quick precept just to
Mhm.
follow up what the elder said? Mark 16:15, and he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Just verifying the fact that you know the creature, the creation is talking about us as well. You know.
King Solomon, I think in the scriptures says the creature is not made subject to vanity,
Right.
willingly. You know, talking about man.
Right. Yep.
It's one in
Like Job too.
because it's a better one in
That's Romans 8.
because people use that to say like, what's that? You go preach to
Where the one they're
caterpillars.
talking about.
You talking about the one in the Apocrypha?
Second Ezra 6.
Yeah, pull that.
This is Second Ezra chapter 6 and 50. I'll start at verse 49.
Mm-hmm.
It says, 48, because that's what we're reading about.
Yep.
For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things.
Start 47.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 47. It says, upon the 5th day thou settest unto the 7th part where the waters were gathered,
Mm-hmm.
that it should bring forth living creatures,
Uh-huh.
fowls and fishes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it
So
came.
we're talking about that 5th day. Go ahead.
And so it came to pass.
Yep.
For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of the Most High,
Right.
that all people might praise thy wondrous works.
That all people might praise thy wondrous works. Go ahead.
Verse 49. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures,
Mm-hmm.
the one thou callest Enoch.
And when you look that word Enoch up, it means learned man or learned one. All right? You know? Because out of that 5th day, man was created. Right. Go ahead.
It says, and the other Leviathan,
We all know Leviathan. Keep reading.
and didst separate the one from the other
Mm-hmm.
for the 7th part, namely, where the water was gathered together,
Mm-hmm.
might not hold them both.
Go ahead.
51. Unto Enoch thou gavest one part, which was dried up the 3rd day,
Mm-hmm.
that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills.
Yeah, all the lands on the planet Earth. You know, go ahead.
Verse 52. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the 7th part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt, and when.
Boom. All right, and we know the prophecies concerning Leviathan towards those last days, how he gonna come back. And so, but the Most High gave man the dry land, and so we have dominion over it. He gave dominion under the earth to Leviathan. I mean, under the water to Leviathan.
He's the top fish.
That's right. He's that guy.
The top.
Him and his kind.
Yeah, real quick. 2nd Ezra 8:45. Be not wroth with us, but spare thy people and have mercy upon thine inheritance, for thou art merciful unto thy creature.
Boom. You see how man is likened into a creature. Okay? So let's take that and go back. Matter of fact, let's go to Genesis 2 real quick. Start at 4.
This is Genesis.
Go ahead.
You had something?
No, I was going to read Genesis. Go ahead.
This is Genesis 2 and 4. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh Elohim made the earth and the heavens,
Go ahead.
and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For Yahweh Elohim had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground.
So all of this was happening. That's why it was formed in the 3rd day. The Most High made the earth inhabitable. You know, he set up the atmosphere, set up the land, put the water, separated everything. Then later on the 5th day, what happened? He put up all the living creatures. Okay, this is a dispensation of time.
Right.
That you're reading a brief synopsis of things in Genesis 2. It's just a brief synopsis of what you read in Genesis 1. But when you read the whole 7 days, that's giving you basically somewhere a 7,000 year period of the creation of the universe, the sky, the heavens, and the earth itself, and man, living creatures, and everything that's on the planet. Okay.
So I do have a question, like in the beginning where it says when the power said, "Let there be lights," in the like let there be lights in the firmament, could that be going into like creating like the different galaxies and things like that?
The minerals they had a glow to them.
Yeah.
So that's how the earth had light before the actual sun was. These minerals, actually, they had a glow to them. And the earth was like glowing. Like there was an actual...
Esau calls it kind of the electromagnetic spectrum. Kind of.
I see what you're saying.
How all these particles and just basically the elements. When you look at in science, they call it the charge. You know, it had a glow to it. It has a glow to it.
Energy.
Like, energy, just raw energy that's light. That has the light.
Because if there's plants on the earth, how would they need light? Before the sun was made, how would they survive?
Yeah.
Right.
I have something that, you know, because I do electrical work, and some of the things that we work on have what Esau calls heating elements. And when you heat them up, when they get hot, you know, like water boilers and, you know, Insta Hot packets and all that, you know, they start glowing that red, you know, like the toasters you see in there. You know what I'm saying? Also, they use heating elements to, you know, conduct heat, and it makes that light.
Interesting.
I'm saying, and the angels are pure energy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That might have something to do with it too. So.
That's exactly what it has to do with it. You know, it's all formed from the angels and the power given to them.
That makes sense, because like when you look at certain like TV shows or a show like an expanse of like the earth, there could be like a camera or something like that. Like it have like a natural just glow to it. It's just
Esau's ruined it all.
Yeah. So back then you could just imagine just like
God. Yeah, that sun and the moon, they were pretty much made as representatives for those different lights. You know what I'm saying? The sun represented the day and the moon represented, you know, the night. But that light was already there, but that sun and the moon was placed as those representatives.
Time.
Represented.
To record time.
What time?
Well, they're tools.
Yeah.
They're celestial tools. That's all the sun and the moon is. You know, people worship them because it's just like seeing it and understanding it is bigger than our carnal mind.
Right.
But they're simply tools that was pulled from the Shemayim. That's it.
Yep.
Okay? It's just a whole bunch of those elements packed together. Okay? So now let's take that and go to 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter.
What verse?
Start at verse 1.
2nd Ezra 14. It says, "And it came to pass upon the third day I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here am I, Lord. And I stood up upon my feet. Then he said unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talk with him when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt, and brought him up to the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, These words."
Yeah, so Moses was giving those secrets, some of the secrets of the times when he was with Yahweh Bashem Yahushua.
Right.
Speaking with him.
Man.
And that's why we study that psalm of Moses that we read right there in Psalms 40. I mean, Psalms 90.
dang, that's
Yeah, people like growing up, people made it seem when we read that the Lord only spoke to him certain things of going to Egypt to deliver his people. No, the Lord supped with Moses, man. Like he was dropping gems to Moses. Everything. He was
gone for over a month. He was gone for over a month, man. What, 40 days?
Right.
40 days of getting breakdowns.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see how many times 40 come up in the scriptures, man.
Wasn't no GMOs either, so his mind was pure.
And he was fasting at that time too.
So you remember when the Lord came back and when the Lord was with the disciples, right there, he was resurrected for 40 something days. That's a lot. You can get a lot of knowledge in 40 days.
On, man. That's a good point. Sheesh.
If I could add to that, I mean, he's the one that wrote down Genesis, you know, so that makes sense when we're reading 2nd Ezra 14.
Absolutely.
Yep. Beautiful.
Verse 6, These words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide. And now I say unto thee, that thou lay up in thy heart these signs that I have showed, and the dreams that thou hast seen, and the interpretations which thou hast heard. For thou shalt be taken away from all, and from henceforth thou shalt remain with my son, and with such as be like thee until the times be ended.
for the world hath lost his youth.
Oh, it's just like Yahshua said, the world has lost its youth. I mean, it's been defiled, man, since the time of the fall of Adam, since the time of Cain, since the time of the flood. You know, and all the manner of wickedness that's been going on, the youth and the vibrance of the world has been lost. You know, leading all the way up into the time of Ezra. Which, you know, after that, at the time of Ezra, you had the temple had already been destroyed. You know, they was just now getting to the point where they were going to rebuild the temple in the Persian captivity. Because Ezra was on the scene around 450, close to 500, around 450, 500 BC is when Ezra was on the scene. So by this time, the earth had lost some of its youth. Okay, what verse you in?
I'm at verse 10.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Doc.
It says, for the world hath lost its youth, and the times begin to wax old.
It says, and the time is beginning to wax old. Okay? So we're getting into the last days of this earth. You know, we're getting close to that time. Go ahead.
For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part.
Right. So it says that the world is divided into 12 parts. These 12 parts represent 12 1,000-year eras. You understand? 12 1,000-year eras. And it says, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and a half of the 10th. Now, when you calculate that out, that's about 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. All right, 9 to 10. Right, so we right around 950, or I'm sorry, 9,500 years have passed. When you go and want to count it, if you want to count it,
Yep.
if you actually want to count it,
Real talk. Yeah.
it's just how you look at BC time, you know, or when they talk about we're in the 16th century. What year periods are they talking about in the 16th century?
Talking about the 1500s.
It's talking about the 1500s. So it's that you have to make sure to keep that in your mind. Right. So we're moving in those parts. All right. Now, when you look at Ezra, and when you look at these parts, the start of this time is not starting until after the firmament was formed. All right. So you have that first day, and then once the elements was formed in the second day, this is where these parts is being, because this is where you had the formation of things happen, as far as things getting old. And it wasn't nothing to get old from 0 to 1,000. It was first getting formed in. So the second day forward is where you count these parts.
That's when the sun and the moon. Okay, I see.
That's when you count these parts. Okay? Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And keep in mind, we counting days. You got the evening and you got, you know what I'm saying? So that's how you count it. These are days that we count.
Right. So when we're looking at that time, we're looking at those year periods leading up until about what people would call 450 BC, 500 BC, before the Lord is on the scene. You got another half part to go until you get the Lord on the scene. See what I'm saying? You got another half part until the Lord is on the scene at 0. Okay? All right, so let's go back.
It says, 2 Ezra 14:12, and there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part.
You know what? Get 2 Ezra 7.
The first.
Start at 26.
I
No,
got
start
you.
at
I got
start
you.
at
Stay there.
Start at 25.
All right. This is 2 Ezra chapter 7, verse 25.
Uh-huh.
And therefore Ezra, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are the full things.
Go ahead.
Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass. And the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen.
Go ahead.
That now is withdrawn from the earth.
Go ahead.
And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders.
Go ahead.
And for my son Yahushua shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice with 400 years.
Within 400 years. So after that time is passed, then the Lord was going to come on the scene. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the time after the temple was rebuilt, during the time of the Persian Empire. That's around 400 BC.
Right.
All right, and then that's when you had Yahweh Shah come on the scene.
That's crazy.
After that time period. That's how we know how those parts fit in to time. That's how you can track it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Break it down one more time.
All right, so these 400 years that you read about here,
in verse 28.
Right.
So when Ezra, after he heard that, about 400 years would pass.
Till the Messiah came.
And just Google, somebody Google. I'll Google it.
I see what you're saying, because around that time it was around 400 to 450 BC. Within that 400 year time span, after that, starting at 0, that's when Yahweh Shah came on the scene, which was prophesied, or which was talked about on that half of the 10th part. I see what you're saying.
That's what BC means, before Hamashiach.
Yes.
So in the time of Ezra, it was 450 years before the time that he would come on earth in the Roman Empire. Because the time it goes down.
Does that make sense?
The time after.
You want to keep reading chapter 7? Or was that the point? Did you want to keep reading chapter 7, or is that all you wanted?
Yeah, that's all I really wanted on that.
God, yeah, that's why they say after Yahweh Shah was born, that's what started the end of days. Because you look at when he was born, that was already around the 10th hour.
This earth has already had waxed in age.
Well, I'm going to read one more verse on what you call for. This 2nd Ezra 7:29. It says, after these years shall my son Hamashiach die, and all men that have life. You know what I'm saying? So
disciples.
It was starting that clock.
So that goes into those parts where Ezra was at. When you go back to 2nd Ezra 14, he's telling you where you at in these 12 parts of time.
Yeah.
So you can clock, and so you can have some type of a spiritual track.
Man,
right?
That's true. We low level time traveling. Going through the scriptures, man. You know what I'm saying? People talk about time travel and all that type of stuff. You go through the scriptures. That's time travel for your ass, man. You know?
Yep.
2nd Ezra chapter 14, verse 13.
Start back up at 10.
It says, for the world hath lost its youth, and the times begin to wax over. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. 13. Now
and there remaineth that which is after the half of a 10th part. So that led really kind of up into Yahweh Shah.
After the half.
Okay?
Makes sense.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Read
13 and then we can be done with that.
It says, now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption.
Right, and so really when you look at that the timeline of the age of the earth, you're looking at the period of nothing, you know, all the way up, and you have day 1, 1,000 years, day 2, 1,000 years, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? Then you look at the time that the announcement, our writings, where we have recorded history on the planet Earth. And that's about 5,000-6,000
Right.
years.
Yep. They sure do say that.
It's about 5,000-6,000 years of us being here, having the cognition of the Most High, recording things in the image of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You know, having understanding. And that fits between, you got the 0 to 1,000 years, and then you have those 12 parts of time that the Most High wants for basically the kingdom be ushered in.
Right.
Yep. If I could say this too, that like the scripture says in Genesis, like man was formed around the 5th day, and we started off saying Adam came on the earth around 4,000 BC, because like you say, the 16th century will represent the 1500s. So that's how you got to think about it too, because Jacob here the 15th century and think about the 1500s.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the scale of time, because you're building up to that point.
Yeah. And so the earth is anywhere in between 12,000, 13,000 years old, according to our understanding through the Spirit.
Right.
He who has ears, let him hear. Are you going to get exact times? And no. Most I don't even make time like that.
Right.
You know, really the time goes by his will and observation on things. You know. Okay? So does that make sense to y'all? I mean, because we can get into timelines. They pull his timeline up. You know, you can start adding, Solomon, and you got in Genesis, the first chapter where it talks about those generations that came. What was that? Matthew. What was that? Matthew. Somebody go to Matthew chapter 1.
Let me start with verse 1.
I gotta see. Slocky, my computer went slow.
Where it talks about the generations of Abraham to David.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got you.
It's 17.
Con.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew chapter 1, verse 17, it says, "So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David unto the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations, and from the carrying away into Babylon unto Hamashiach are 14 generations."
Mm-hmm. And you literally can track those families.
Mm-hmm.
Those families are still recorded. You go and track it and see from, they say Abraham was on the scene anywhere around, 1700 BC to
They said like 2000.
Yeah, 1900 BC, somewhere around there. You just track those generations. But it all pretty much add up around that time. And that's why people talk about tree rings and everything like that. And, the tree rings be going to, right around that time span, anywhere between 8 and 12,000 years.
Right.
Of being here, 10,000 years.
That's an accurate recording, as opposed to that damn radiocarbon dating.
Yeah. Yeah. Oldest artifacts.
Yeah.
Be about 4,000 or 5,000 years old. Max.
This nigga says millions and billions. Damn.
Because the sample.
Because they want to talk about fossilized creatures.
Exactly.
They don't want to talk about the pressure and that happened with the flood.
Right.
How you instantaneous fossils.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he needs those millions of years to justify his bullshit. Because we don't see these changes happening in our time. So he says, well, it's billions of years ago. So the next time it'll happen, your ass will be dead.
Yeah.
That's
like on Netflix. They got this series hosted by Will Smith called
One Strange Rock.
One Strange Rock. They be going off like a mother. Boy, they be going off, bro. You sitting there looking like, where you get that from? You know what I'm saying? Because this is they ask us where we get it from. We can say the Bible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You ask them where they get it from. They finna give you all kind of mouthful, man.
Verifiable science. Verifiable science.
Give me that Scientology BS.
Oh, boy.
BS. It's got some interesting stuff, but you gotta pick a hella bones out.
I was saying you gotta pick the meat out.
Yeah.
That's all bones.
Yeah. Well, the oppositions of science, falsely so called.
Right. Turkey did.
So, like I said, I just want to reiterate: if you want to go back and do a study on this, and a good video series to watch is on Daily Motion called "What the World Says versus What the Lord Says." It's got Elder Menatazak, Apostle Ramlog on it. Good series.
Did you send me that?
Con. You sent it to me.
Oh.
Yeah, I can send it to you. And then,
Just look it up.
no, I'll send it to you. And then, what was I going to say? I lost my track of thought. Oh, the article. There was an article that just basically has like real nerdy facts. If you got guys that really want those facts. 101 evidences for a young age of the earth and the universe on creation.com. Okay.
If I may ask real quick, could we can we go back over Matthew 1:17 real fast? I don't know, I get kind of confused in regards to the generation. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if there's is there a certain way that you count a generation which is roughly around Like
100 years.
100 years.
40.
Okay.
No, about 40.
Like
Yeah, about 40.
Okay.
Like a father have a son, and then a son have a son. That's a generation.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you 25 when you had your kid,
Yeah. Okay.
you know what I'm saying? That's the,
Roughly.
the generation. I would say the generation between me and my kids. That's what I'm saying. That's about 25. However old you are when you had your kid. That's the generation.
But they put it around 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly, because you got to think our people will get married and having families a lot younger than what we would in this time right now.
Okay.
I was in the wilderness, 40 years, all
Right,
the people
right,
died
right.
off.
That's
And
the
then
generation.
That next generation went in.
Next generation.
There you go. What's that? Exodus?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, Exodus 20.
So that 3 to 4 generations is really only about 200 years. Pretty much is talking about 100.
40 times 3.
48.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
120.
That's 3 generations.
Moses, Noah was prophesying that long.
You know what I'm saying? What was his next generation? His kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I mean, that was way more time because they was way older, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Sheesh.
Okay, that makes sense now. That
Complete
that
sense.
cleared up a lot.
Yeah.
In Google, it says how long is a generation in population biology and demographic. The generation time is the average time between 2 consecutive generations in the lineage of a population. In human population, generation time typically ranges from 22 to 33 years.
Damn.
I was gonna say my mom was 22 when she had me, and my dad was 25.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the scriptures, it's 40.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Sheesh.
I was going to just bring up something. I mean, if you read in Genesis chapter 5, it talks about how Adam was 130 years before he had his son. So generations were a lot longer back then.
Yeah.
Like the elder mentioned.
Yep.
I'll say, well, how old? Well, Isaac was 60. Isaac was pretty old. You know what I'm saying?
Abraham. Oh, Abraham was
When he
on
had,
planet.
Isaac. When he had Jacob and Esau.
Yeah. So, and literally, you can literally, the generations are listed right there for you. You know what I mean? Like, if you start at 1, just read it. Yeah, just read it.
What time is a trip?
The spiritual aspect, it outweighs the technical.
You know, because you can count it. Sorry, Matthew 1 and 1.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, the book of the generation of Yahushua Mashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham.
Go ahead.
Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. And Judas begat Pharez and Zerah of Thamar. And Pharez begat Esrom, and Esrom begat Aram. And Aram begat Aminadab, and Aminadab begat Nason, and Nason begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz of Rechab, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David the king.
And it was 14 generations from David to Yahushua, right?
14.
That's
14
dang,
times 14 times 14. You said 14 generations.
From
14 times 3.
28.
14 times 3 by what? 1,680 years from what? From Abraham all the way to Yahushua. Yeah. Because I mean, if we won't just say, you know, for compensation, 40 years.
So 40. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Dang.
Like 14 times 40?
Well, you was
40-year generations.
14 times 3, then 14 times 3, and then multiply that by 40.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
1,680.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Yeah, if someone want to look up the actual date and times or the approximation of time between Abraham and Yahushua, literally, all you gotta do is Google it.
Yeah.
Abraham to Jesus timeline, and it'll pick it up.
It's probably where you look like that. The 16, because what you said.
And so look, they the chronology of the Bible. on Wikipedia if you want to go and look that out. But as far as the age of the earth goes, age of the earth is around 12, 13,000. You know, actually the earth itself, we would say more like 10,000, but the universe
About 13.
and everything is about 13,000 years. Okay?
Makes sense now. I mean, it made sense, but now it's more understanding, I'd rather say.
Right. And that's just a way that you can kind of go through the scripture, touch on a couple of scriptures. If somebody's asking out there on the Holiday Bible, just touch on Genesis, 2 Peter,
Number 12.
2 Ezra 14, you know. That's it. But that's all I had, bro.
Gone.
Unless somebody else got something else to add to it. Okay.
Yeah, precept real quick. This is Hosea, because we're going into the 10 parts. Hosea chapter 6 and verse 1. It says, "Come and let us return unto Yahweh, for he hath torn and he will heal us. He hath smitten and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight." You know, going into after, you know, this time that we're about to pass the threshold, you know, Yahweh is about to return and bring eternal life to the nation of Israel. He will revive us, you know, that word revive basically means to make alive. And so that's coming very soon in the third day.
Yeah. We got that coming. Those 3,000 year period.
Come. We a lot more close than we think.
I was ain't no telling what year it is.
We got it.
Really don't want to say how
It's 19 this and 2000.
It's no telling where we at.
Probably haven't even got to the year 2000 yet.
Probably haven't.
Probably way past it.
Yeah, we way past it.
Think so?
Yeah, we gotta be.
I think if we're going, because the elder brought the Roman calendar, how they're making the year shorter, so it's very possible we might be over it.
Way over it.
Probably like year 2,700.
Bro, we there.
3019.
Bro, we close, bro.
We could be.
2019.
Hey, that's why. Paul made that statement.
That's why it's important not to go off of carnal observation.
Right.
The only thing you can do is go off of prophecy and events, because the Most High moves about His will. It's about what He wants accomplished in the dispensation of time. That time is done when I accomplish my will. That's when I'm moving to the next piece of time. You know, the days wasn't completed by a clock. The days were completed by what needed to be done.
Right.
You know, when He said, okay, today we're going to make the sky. When it was done, the day was over. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the whole shit, you know.
We got 5 more minutes.
We got 5 more minutes.
I would say 5 more minutes until we can let there be light.
No. The era of time of what was considered that day was what needed to be done in that period. You know, we have a mind where the Most High told us it was about 1,000 years. Just to give you a little peon brain an inkling of what happened.
Right.
About 1,000 years. But you're not putting Most High in that box.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just for you to have a glimpse of an understanding. That's it. You don't get it twisted.
And this kingdom is the end of the world, so to speak. The end of this, you know, this is 2 Ezra 11 and 39. Are there not that remaineth of the 4 beasts whom I have made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? So the end of these times, the end of the heathen rule is going to come through Esau, Edom.
Yeah. And how the Most High wants them to move. When He's done, when they complete the mission, when we complete our mission, we supposed to complete our mission.
That's just like Isaiah 69. It say y'all gonna prophesy. Y'all gonna prophesy to the missus fly. You know what I'm saying? Until this place is utterly made desolate. That's how long you gonna preach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's how long you're blinded.
Right there.
This is 2 Ezra 4 and 37. By measure hath He measured the times, and by number hath He numbered the times. And He does not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled.
The said measure be fulfilled.
Done what He said.
He said he hasn't moved it until the said measure be filled. You got to remember that the Most High had a day where the sun didn't move. He stopped it.
Yeah, He sure did. Yep.
He has power over that. You trying to say, no, man, 24 hours. Right. You said the sun and the moon. He's above all your little carnal rules, man.
The 62nd minute, then we started that in the Assyrian Empire. So before that, we wasn't
going by a calendar until the Babylonian Empire like that. We didn't start. We had a calendar that we just had psalms that we spoke. The psalms that we would sing will remind us of when to do certain things in the fields, when seasons was changing, this and that. There's like you can look it up, man. There was ancient songs that was describing the harvest time.
Be back in 15 minutes.
It was all oral tradition. There ain't no such thing. Ain't no such thing as be back in 15 minutes. That is a construct for your mind, like literally.
That's captivity.
That literally don't exist.
We didn't measure time like that. Yeah.
We didn't live by those type of constraints, and those type of constraints hold you back.
Right. Straight up. That reminds me of Adar the last month. Sometimes it's extended to a second Adar just based on how the earth spring, with the concept of what the earth is doing around that time. What the Lord pretty much does to the earth. There's times when you went into that, y'all went into that both.
Yeah.
That it would get held back due to the spirit of things that was going on.
Sometimes the crops didn't come up like that. So you gonna have a festival and the crops ain't doing nothing?
Right.
Y'all just gonna be there broke in the hole. We supposed to do it at this time of the month, every month. No. That's not how it went.
Man, that's why we call you the devil, Esau.
Right.
Time.
Man, straight up.
We use time as a weapon.
He sure does. It's a tool. It's a stumbling block.
That's why these jakes when they try to say that the Lord gonna come back in 2019 because the 400-year prophecy and all that, it's like you putting Yahweh and Yahweh into a box. It's not, if first off, the scriptures say that we don't know the exact date and time he's gonna come back.
Yeah, how wish I even said that?
We just know the events.
We just know the events.
We just know the event. These are the events that's gonna lead up into that time.
He said wars and rumors of wars. He didn't say Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right.
Look for the wars and rumors of wars.
You know these things. Know that.
That's why the scriptures say measure the time diligently with the sun.
Yep.
And how do you measure that time? Prophecy. The events. That's right.
This is 1 Corinthians 13:9. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. Know about prophecy.
Yep. I got one real quick. Revelations 13:1 it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." So that's how you know that this last kingdom is going to be ruled through the Edomites. And that's how you know that we're in that last time now. That's right. Because it started with the leopard, And if you want to go back to timelines and chronological order, you can just see the time when Philip, Macedon, and Alexander started ruling, and that could give you a glimpse of the time we're in now.
And didn't Jake teach Esau the concept of zero? Or something like that. I remember reading something like that. Because you can't just take away the 0 to 1.
Right.
So that's time too.
Damn. Yeah. You can go deep, bro. Yeah. I never thought about it like that.
You can't just 1.
Yeah.
Time,
something has to go from 0 to 1.
Right.
Damn, I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anybody got anything else?
Well, I do got something.
I know you do.
Do that finger like this.
Mr. Real Quick. That brother don't know no slow precepts.
Last precept, man.
No, I'm good.
Alright, so then that closes out this class session, man.
Come.
Very good.